watching back all this footage, it's taken me a long time to sort this bicycle out. A lot of haircuts, some more drastic than others. Yeah, it's probably taken me about 3 months to get this bike build kind of done. The main thing was sourcing a whole lot of parts, waiting for those to show up, figuring out a few things, but in the end we got to a product that I'm pretty happy with. I'm so stoked with the bicycle. There's nothing worse than a bicycle that's just sitting around not getting ridden. It's the biggest crime you can commit in bike law. So yeah, it's a long video. Get stuck into it. I will leave all the timestamps and stuff here and down below. This bike that we've had lying around the shop for a while now, you might have seen it in the background of a few of my other videos, but this is a Healing Commuter that one of the local guys in town found in a bush. He brought it to us. He said, you guys will probably be able to sort this one out, wouldn't you? And that's the plan for this video. It's a Healing Commuter. 1980 is kind of when it is. They started making the Healing 12-speed and in 1979, and then they changed that bike to the Healing Commuter 3-speed thing around the 80s. I'm not 100% sure when this bike came from, but I'll link some pretty sick stuff. I found a real cool blog about all the Healing history and this bike itself. Back when this bike was new, it cost $225, $1,400-ish dollars in today's money, so it wasn't a cheap bicycle. So I'm not quite sure where to begin. I think the main thing is that I want to get the frame out. So I think I'll start at the top. No, I think I'll take the wheels off first. That'll give me a quick idea of what I can move around and all of that, and then I'll start at the top and take everything off. The first step was just tucking into getting all the bits and bobs off. Most of it was reasonably straightforward. I used a lot of WD-40 and rust release and got really stuck into it. The hardest bits, of course, were the bits that had tubes inside other tubes, so the handlebar, quill stem, and also the seat tube were particularly difficult. Oh, Jesus. I was quite surprised in the end how good condition all of the little bearings and stuff were, especially in that headset. This bike's been lying outside for ages, so to have such a good finish, you still have bright bearings, is pretty buzzy. There's a quick tool I made up to knock out the pressed stem. I'll link a video down below of me where I got the idea from. You can buy these things, but it's easy enough just to make your own. I was pretty stoked with the whole bottom bracket scenario. It was older standards, older design, but same standards that we carry through to today. So I could just use a modern bottom bracket on the kind of cheaper end, which is pretty good. I was worried about this point. This seat post was an absolute nightmare to get out. I tried a whole lot of things, but in the end, just brute force, kind of got it out. And that's it. The frame's all free. Now the next step is getting stuck into getting all this paint off. Okay, so from what I learned from stripping all sorts of stuff, the best way I can find to strip these frames is using a paint stripper, so quick strip from Sally's, and then using one of these little rubber discs on a drill. Doesn't damage the steel itself, but it cleans off all the rust and all the paint pretty easily. So what I'll first do is I'll scrap off all the super old stickers that I've already taken photos of and copied on Illustrator, and then get amongst with this. I'm going to do little pieces, work my way to a nice clean frame. get going. So once I'd got most of the frame down to bright steel again, it was then time to start thinking about the brake system that I'm going to go yet. I had to make a little plates, use some brackets. This way it's just a little simple flat plate cut to shape and you chuck the disc on. If you do want a bit more detail of this whole process, I can dive into it a little bit more. For the purpose of this video, I'll just kind of show you the rough overview of what I got up to. Okay, so now what's very important when we're putting the brake caliper itself on the bike, there's a little bit of play in probably that direction and that direction, because you can put little spaces just like I've got in there. So the only thing that you can't adjust with little spaces is this movement. So that's why it's very important that when you put it on the caliper, that you clamp it in and it can't move in that direction. It can move in that direction and in that direction, but not in the roll. Make sense? Yeah, it does. So I'm not sure why, but I attempted to do a little bit of internal cabling. Long term, probably not the best idea, but it does look pretty sick. Okay, so we got brakes on the frame. There's a few little bit of cleaning up things to do there still. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do about this cable routing yet, but we'll get to that. For now, I'm going to start work on putting on a derailleur. Yeah, I'm going to do a few little tests first, try and make a kind of a hanger out of some steel. You do get these little conversion kits that you can, it's kind of like a derailleur hanger that you can install. I'm going to try first make one that I can weld on. If that doesn't work, then I will use this derailleur hanger and fix it through with some normal bolts. Bit of trial and error here, a bit of messing around, but I guess we'll see what happens. Before I get stuck into that derailleur, I'm going to need a cassette on this wheel so I can see exactly where the derailleur needs to sit. I'm using a knockoff Shimano micro. It's not even Shimano, it's knockoff Shimano, so it's micro shift. It's Shimano compatible. Don't know why I've got this, but it looks like it's made in exactly the same factory as the Shimano stuff. So chuck it on. So I don't know if you can see this, but because I'm using just a generic kind of derailleur hanger, this one is meant to be placed on the inside of that. I think from looking at all the other derailleurs I've got, from the edge of the derailleur itself, so where this touches the derailleur hanger, needs to be 12 mils to the first sprocket. At the moment it's probably about 17. It's really good because that to there is 7, and then from 7 to plus a 5 mil plate, which I'm going to build my permanent hanger, that should in theory work, because at the moment you can almost see that this just isn't lining up with that little cog there, but so far so good. She's kind of going to work like that. We'll see. So I cut out this little template. I'll link below what
I like all the little measurements I used. I found this really cool image online. It's the angle is important, so how far back it is, and also this distance from there to there is important, as well as the distance from where your derailleur sits to that first cog. You can change it, but it is reasonably important.
The most important bit about this is that you get yourself the right kind of tap. Park Tool makes a 10 by 1 tap. It's the only 10 by 1 tap I could find. I couldn't find them anywhere else. That 10 by 1 mil tap is an old kind of standard that got somehow kept the whole way through bike everything, and that's what it nowadays what derailleurs use and always have, I assume. Park Tool makes this little tap, so I'll link down below where I found it. You will struggle to find a 10 by 1 tap in your hardware store or anything like that. You only got to get a derailleur hanger specific 10 mil tap. Once I got my hanger all cut out, tapped, ready to go, I did a little test fit, and then it was time to weld it on. The welder I'm using is nothing special. I've done a video before on how cheap and nasty it is, but for all intents and purposes it gets the job done. Ideally, I guess you would want to be doing some kind of brazing with this, but for me, didn't really need to. So pretty stoked with how this is turning out. So after like a lot of research, I actually found that it was reasonably easy to put bottle holders in these old steel frames. Initially, I was thinking I was going to have to get some bosses. You can buy little bosses with threads in them and weld those on or braze them on, or teach myself how to do all that. But then if you actually look at most bikes today, all it is what's called a Rivnut. So it's like a rivet. You drill a little hole, put the rivet in, and then you do get a Rivnut tool. But here, all I did was I took a little nut and a little bolt and the Rivnut, and then you just tighten it, and it just squeezes in, and that's your bowl cage holder done. Easy as. Next, we were ready for paint. I gave all the frame a good long sand, worked my way up to, I think it was only about 400 grit. It wasn't anything too crazy. I did want something for the paint to bite into.
Okay, so I'm going to be using the plastic coat enamel interior exterior spray paint. This is the primer. I've never actually used the primer before. I've never actually done it right, but this is meant to kind of key into the blank steel and give us a nice solid surface for the full paint, which I've chosen pistachio as a color. I put a thing on Instagram seeing if you guys wanted either black or green, and this is the coolest green I could find, so hopefully it looks pretty dope. But let's get into it.
Watching this footage back, I know I should be using a respirator. Future, I will. Sorry, I normally am pretty good with this kind of stuff. The garage I work in is well ventilated, but that's still no excuse.
Can explode it. Look at that.
So what I did is I put 2 or 3 coats of primer, more coats on the bits that would take a bit of a beating, around the dropouts and seat posts and that kind of stuff. And then I also got in there with a little bit of builder's bog and just filled in my terrible welds. Just give it that nice smooth finish, like it was always meant to be there. And the green came out so nice. It's my new favorite color. I absolutely love how this bike looks. It looks even better in the sunlight. It is so sick.
Right, so it's assembly day. I've got the frame all painted up. I've got, I think, everything I need to get going and build the whole bike. A whole shitload of parts, old and new, some pretty cool ones. Also, bits from other bikes. So we're gonna see how we go. Hopefully I get the whole bike built, and then we can go for a ride. So nothing to it but to do it. Let's get cracking.
So a pretty rad thing that I'm doing here is actually converting the bike from a Quill stem bike. That's the one that fastens down, and then as you fasten the nut it tightens up. That's the old style of doing it. Converting that to what we use today, which is kind of a headset holding system. Pretty cool products. I'll link them down below. You get little conversion kits, and that's exactly what I used here. Putting in a derailleur and doing all of that was actually pretty straightforward. It worked as easy as it always does. I'm going with a 1x9 system just to keep everything nice and clean. I hate front derailleurs. I think they are the worst thing you can put on a bicycle. Also, the seat itself is probably the most uncomfortable seat you can possibly buy. It's the bottom of the range Bontrager one. I will replace. There is a Brooks saddle on order at the moment, so we'll put that on this and on my mountain bike. I think that putting seats on is one of the worst jobs when putting together a mountain bike. I hate it. Bottle cage, hindsight I'd probably put another bottle cage, but this will do. I'm not going to use it to go very far, this bicycle. Once that's all done, tidied up the cockpit, and yeah, she's ready for a ride. Have a look. I'm super happy with how this bike turned out. It's going to be something that I have forever. It is so sick. I'm not sure where I'm going to ride it around here. I am moving house soon, so maybe I get to ride it there, but it will definitely be something that I take with me on those kind of holiday trips where you're cruising around new places and checking everything out. Thank you so much for watching this video and sticking with me to the end. If you really enjoyed it, you know what to do. Smash a like, give us a little subscribe, maybe show a mate. Yeah, other than that, I'll see you next time.